You won the lottery. Now what? Do you believe it happened because of chance or because of consciousness? Let me tell you, there is no such thing as luck. There is only law, and you, beloved, are its master. You did not win by random draw. You won because at some point, somewhere deep within, you dared to believe you already had it. So now the question isn't how did it happen? The real question is, what will you assume now? Let's explore. You did not win the lottery because of numbers on a ticket or luck in the stars. You won because something within you moved. Something inside accepted the idea of wealth, not as a distant dream, but as a present truth. Before anything changed outside, something had already shifted within. That shift was not accidental. It was deliberate, though you may not have realized it fully. You may have played the game like everyone else, but you were not like everyone else. There was a moment, perhaps fleeting but real, when you allowed yourself to feel what it would be like to win. You may have imagined holding the ticket, or smiling at the deposit, or hearing the words, "You've won," echo in your mind. That was not fantasy. That was causation. The world only mirrored back what you had already dared to see and feel. What happened when the money arrived was merely the echo. You must understand this if you are to fully grasp your power. The outer world did not change first. It responded. It answered to the command given in silence, in imagination, in assumption. You were not chosen by chance. You were chosen by your own consciousness. You were the chooser and the chosen. The winning was not random. It was the result of alignment. That moment when you dared to believe, even lightly, that it was possible, that was the seed. And imagination is not idle. It is the engine. It is the spiritual workshop where all things are made. When you felt the reality of your wish fulfilled, even before you had any physical proof, you were setting into motion the entire machinery of manifestation. The moment the feeling was accepted, the world began to rearrange. Think back to the time before the win. How often did you think about what it would be like? Did you visualize the bank account? Did you feel the relief, the celebration, the sudden shift in identity? Even if it was done playfully, it was powerful, because the universe responds to inner reality, not outer facts. Facts follow feelings. And the feeling of the wish fulfilled is what created your outcome. You stepped into a new version of yourself, not by effort, but by assumption. You did not need to convince others, or even fully convince yourself. You only needed to occupy the state long enough for it to become natural. Once it felt normal to think of yourself as wealthy, the world simply complied. This is why it is so important to understand that the lottery was never the true source of your abundance. It was the reflection, not the origin. The origin was internal. That same origin point is available to you now, just as it always was. You can apply it again. You can recreate the feeling. You can step back into that same alignment and even go further, because wealth is not in the numbers or the zeros. It is in the consciousness of having. When you truly know that you have, more is given. When you believe that you are already the person who has what they desire, life unfolds to match that belief. It's not about becoming lucky. It's about becoming aligned. The feeling of certainty you had, the casual belief that it might just be you, the joyful expectation, even if momentary, that was the doorway. And what you stepped into on the other side was not just a financial miracle. It was a deeper truth. The truth that the world is always mirroring you. Not sometimes. Always. The wind didn't come to you. It came from you. You became it, and the world showed the evidence. Now, most people think they must chase success, chase money, chase the wind. But you didn't chase. You received. And you received because you were already in the state of the one who has. This is the key to repeating the success and to expanding it. If you still think of the money as the prize and the ticket as the cause, you're missing the point. The prize was the realization. The cause was the inner movement. If you can truly grasp this, there are no limits. The external world becomes clay, shaped by your inner certainty. Many who win something great are told they're lucky. But luck is just a word people use when they don't understand the law. What looks like luck to the world is really law in motion. The law that what you assume to be true becomes true. The law that imagination and feeling create fact. When you live from that place, you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are the author. You realize that just as you accepted the idea of the win, you can now accept even greater things. But to go deeper, you must drop the idea that you are trying to attract something from the outside. There is nothing outside you. You are not pulling money in. You are not asking fate to bless you. You are embodying the version of yourself who already has the thing and allowing the world to reflect that. You didn't attract the money as someone poor. You became the rich person in consciousness, and then the wealth appeared. You didn't beg. You didn't hope. You aligned. You entered into the state and let it dwell in you. To truly master this, you must see that the external is always secondary. The world of senses is only the echo. The inner world is the source. When you imagined holding that winning ticket, when you felt the thrill of it, when you played out the conversation in your mind telling someone the good news, that was the creative act. That was the act of planting the seed. Everything after that was the unfolding. The key is to live there longer, to stay in the state more consistently, to not need proof, but to become proof. And so you won, yes, but not by accident, not by random event. You won because of what you felt to be true. You won because you shifted states. That shift may have been subtle. It may have come in a dream, a moment of daydreaming, or a flash of confidence. But it was enough. You stepped into the feeling, and you didn't resist it. You allowed yourself to taste the reality of it before it showed up. That allowance was your creation. That faith was your power. The rest was inevitable. Now realize this. The person you became to win was not temporary. That self is still available. That state is still alive. You can live from it daily, not just to receive more, but to understand your true nature. You are not a victim of conditions. You are the creator of conditions. What you did once, you can do again. You did not just win money. You awakened the law within yourself. And that awakening is far more valuable than any check, any deposit, or any prize. It is the door to all things. You now know where the real power is. It is not in the outer world. It is in you. After the win, after the applause in your heart, and the confirmation in your hands, there comes a moment of stillness, a pause in which life looks to you and waits. What will you do with the state that brought you this? Will you keep it alive, or trade it for the fear of losing what you gained? This is the crossroads few recognize. The win was not the end of a journey, but the beginning of mastery. Because if you think the power lies in the event or in the prize, you will eventually fall back into the old state. But if you understand that the only thing you ever need to sustain is the inner state of wealth, then the outer conditions must continue to reflect that richness. Not sometimes, not maybe. Always. It is law. Many people believe they must now protect their fortune, manage it, guard it, as if it could vanish. But the truth is, the money itself has no power. The state you live in is everything. You may have millions and still feel poor. You may hold riches but live in fear of loss. And in doing so, you step out of the state of wealth and into the illusion of scarcity. That shift will reflect itself in time. The money may remain for a while, but your experience will mirror the state you dwell in. This is why those who do not understand the law often win and then lose. They never truly became the version of themselves who possesses abundance as a natural state of being. They touched it briefly, but did not sustain it. So what does it mean to sustain the state? It means you do not allow appearances to disturb the truth you have claimed. You do not measure your security by numbers or markets or opinions. You measure it by your knowing. The knowing that you are the operant power, that you do not hope for wealth, you express it. You do not wait to be chosen, you have already chosen. And you live from that choice every day, in every thought, in every mood. This is not about pretending. It is about assuming a truth so deeply that it no longer feels like a performance. It feels like identity. The money that came to you was drawn to your vibration. But vibration is not something you create once and forget. It is the emotional tone you return to again and again. If you return to the old habits of fear, doubt, or limitation, the world would faithfully reflect that too. Not as punishment, but as proof that consciousness is primary. But if you remain in the new identity, if you stay centered in the feeling of the one who already has, then the world continues to deliver more of what matches that state. The world is never inconsistent. It simply mirrors your consistency. You must learn to guard your state more than you guard your possessions. When you feel the temptation to doubt, when fear whispers about the future, you return to the feeling of certainty. You speak inner words of confidence. You remind yourself of who you have become. You remember that the same power that brought the first win can bring countless more. Not because you are chasing more, but because abundance flows to where it feels welcome. If you keep the doors of your mind open to wealth, wealth continues to enter. If you close them with fear, the flow slows. The greatest wealth you possess is not in your account. It is in your ability to assume any state at will. This is the power most ignore. They become mesmerized by the fruit and forget the tree. They look at the outcome and forget the source. But the source was never outside. It was within you, and it remains within you. To sustain the state means you walk in it daily. You carry the feeling of fulfillment with you. You do not wait for the next thing to prove. It's still working. You know it is working because you feel it within. To remain in the state is to make wealth your natural language, your natural expectation. You do not wonder if more is coming. You know it is. Not because of arrogance, but because of alignment. You are no longer trying to receive. You are expressing what already is. This shift is everything. It is the difference between temporary results and lasting transformation. When the win becomes a part of your self-concept, when it no longer feels separate from you, then all fear dissolves. You are not someone who got lucky. You are someone who has awakened to the truth of creation. You are someone who now lives from the inside out. But understand this, you must let go of measuring your state by outer events. The outer is slow. The outer is a delayed reflection. If you judge your inner world by what you see now, you will be tempted to shift states prematurely. Instead, you must trust the process of reflection. You must remain in the feeling of wealth, even when the world offers no immediate evidence. Because you know, based on law, that the evidence must come. That is true faith. Not blind belief, but conscious assumption. The inner must lead. Always. Now let's go deeper. What is wealth really? Is it digits on a screen? Is it piles of currency? Or is it a way of being? A tone of mind? You must decide this. Because if you believe wealth is just money, then when the money is absent, you will feel empty. But if wealth is a state, a vibration, a certainty that lives in you, then no matter the appearance, you walk with confidence. And the world, sensing that energy, rushes to reflect it back to you. Life responds to those who walk as if it is already done. That is the secret to sustaining any manifestation. You must treat the inner state as more real than the facts. Wealth is a state of being, a presence, a calm knowing, a sense that you have all you need and more, that you can create at will, not through force, but through alignment, that no door is locked to you, that you are not waiting to be approved or rewarded. You are the one who sets the tone. You are the one who decides what is true for you. And once you decide, Reality bends to your belief. It must. That is the nature of creation. The mistake most people make is they use the wind to validate their power and then begin to fear losing it. But the wind is not your source. The state that produced it is. Stay in the state, and the winds keep coming. Abundance is not a single event. It is a stream that flows from a consciousness of plenty. And if you remain in that consciousness, you can lose nothing. Because even if the form changes, the substance remains. The substance is your awareness. So do not worry about the future. Do not wonder if it will last. That is old thinking. You are not the same person anymore. You are now someone who knows where the power lies. It lives in your mind, in your assumption, in your sustained inner experience. It lives in the quiet confidence you carry, even when no one else sees it. That is true wealth. That is what you must protect, nourish, and cultivate. Because from that place, all things are possible, again and again and again. To go even deeper, ask yourself this. If you had no access to the world's definition of wealth, if no one could see your possessions or your statements, would you still feel rich? If the answer is yes, then you are truly free. Because your wealth is no longer dependent on form. It is a frequency, a presence, a light you carry. And that light will draw all that matches it without effort. You become magnetic not because of what you hold, but because of what you are. The sustained state is not something you fight to keep. It is something you choose to be. It becomes natural, effortless, real. You begin to realize that the outer wind is small compared to the inner awareness. The check is not the prize. The shift in consciousness is. That shift has unlocked a door that will never close again unless you choose to forget who you are. So stay there. Dwell in the feeling of the one who already has. Speak from that place. Think from that place. Feel from that place. It is not arrogance. It is alignment. And from that alignment, the world has no choice but to match you. It is not optional. It is law. The most extraordinary realization after any great manifestation is not the thing that arrived, but the truth that you had the power to bring it. That is the treasure, the real inheritance. Because money can come and go, but the power to create never leaves you. And what you did once, you can do again. Not by repeating the external action, but by remembering the internal alignment. You did not manifest by force or luck. You did it through conscious control of your imagination. That is the real prize. To know that you can select a state, dwell in it, persist in it, and see it reflected as fact. That is freedom beyond what the world teaches. The ability to control your inner world is the ultimate wealth, because everything external is born from it. You now hold in your awareness the most valuable tool a human being can possess. The knowledge that consciousness is the only reality. That assumption, faithfully maintained, leads to physical results that you are not required to explain how. You are not required to beg, hope, or plead. You are only required to enter the state and live from it. The world is not your judge. It is your mirror. And with that understanding, you are free to create again and again. This control is not about manipulating circumstances. It is about mastering the one thing that truly matters: your own self-concept. Who you assume yourself to be shapes the entire world around you. The power is not in the bank. It is in the belief. The belief that you are already what you desire to be. You don't chase it. You don't wait for it. You step into it now. That inner conviction, when it becomes natural, becomes external. You saw this clearly when you won. Before the results came, the inner vision came first. Now, with the proof in hand, you must protect that power, not by guarding it, but by practicing it. Create again. Manifest again. Assume again, because the law has no limit. It will always produce according to your dominant state. If you assume yourself to be a person who easily creates wealth, then wealth continues to show up. Not as a one-time miracle, but as a natural response to your identity. You see, most people believe the win is the reward. But the win is only the reflection of something deeper. The real reward is that you now understand how reality works. You don't need the world's permission to manifest. You don't need their approval. You don't even need circumstances to look favorable. You only need to control the one thing you truly can. The direction of your inner speech and the feeling you dwell in. That is your real currency. That is your greatest possession. It is not the outcome that makes you powerful. It is the clarity that you created it. Every time you enter a new desire, you are not beginning from zero. You are starting from knowledge. You now know what it feels like to dwell in the end. You know the tone of certainty. You know how the world bends when you persist inwardly. This gives you confidence to move boldly, not because you hope it works, but because you know it does. This confidence is not ego. It is alignment with truth. You know you are the operant power. And in that knowing, you rise. So what will you imagine now? That is the great question. Now that you have proven the law to yourself, how will you expand your vision? Will you use it only for money? Or will you reach for more profound things? Will you assume peace, love, purpose, healing, fulfillment for yourself and others? Because once you understand this principle, you are no longer limited. There is no desire too big. There is no condition too hard. The same process that brought money into your experience can bring anything. The law does not discriminate. It does not favor certain goals. It responds only to assumption. This is your new starting point. You stand at the edge of infinite possibility. And the question is no longer whether the law works. You've already seen that it does. The new question is how far you're willing to go with it. Will you limit it to one area of life? Or will you allow it to transform everything? Because now, you're not just someone who won something. You're someone who understands the mechanism of creation. That realization is what separates the temporary from the eternal. The win was temporary. The awareness is eternal. Let your next assumptions be bold. Let your next imaginal acts be fearless. You don't have to see the path. You only need to see the end and trust that the means will unfold. When you imagined the lottery win, you didn't know the exact moment it would happen, but you imagined what it would feel like. You stepped into that joy before you had the ticket. You spoke from the victory before it was visible. That is the formula, and it applies to everything. So use it. Use it without apology. Assume not just what you think is likely, but what your heart truly longs for. The world will adjust. When you speak now, speak from the end. When you think now, think from the end. When you act now, act from the end. Let the tone of your imagination always be one of completion. That is how the universe reads your signal. You are not someone hoping to become. You are someone who already is. And as that assumption grows roots in your subconscious, the world around you will reflect it more and more clearly. Your new creations will not be struggles. They will be natural extensions of who you are being. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Imagination is a skill, and you have already proven you can use it. Now refine it, direct it, expand it. Make it your daily practice to live from the wish fulfilled. Make it your habit to assume the highest about yourself. Not just about money, but about your relationships, your health, your purpose, your peace. Whatever you assume to be true will seek expression. That is the nature of consciousness. It must express what is impressed upon it. You are now the one impressing. You are not reacting anymore. You are initiating. And so life is not happening to you. It is happening through you. You are not a spectator. You are the cause. You are the creative center of your experience. This truth does not change, no matter what happens externally. That knowledge, once awakened, cannot be undone. You may forget it temporarily, but you can always return. You can always reclaim the state. You can always decide again. That is power. So remember, the greatest gift of your manifestation was not the money, but the message. The message that you are the author, that you are never stuck. That imagination is your first reality. That nothing is withheld from you when you claim it within. And now that you've tasted this truth, let your next vision be grand. Let your next desire be sacred. Let your next creation serve not just your needs, but your joy, your soul, your divine expression. Because you are no longer guessing how life works. You know, you've seen it, you've lived it. And now you can create as freely as you choose. And so, the journey does not end with the winning moment. It begins with the awareness it brought forth. You now know where true power resides. Not in the external world, not in the numbers or the events, but in your inner state. The assumptions you dare to hold, the feelings you boldly claim, the imaginal scenes you faithfully revisit. The win was not luck. It was law. It was you stepping into the version of yourself that had already received it. And now, having seen that this works, You are free to assume greater, to imagine deeper, to live more boldly from the end. Let this not be a one-time success story, but the foundation for a life of conscious creation. You are not meant to live by chance. You are here to live by choice. And when that choice is made from within, the world obeys. So stay in the state, trust the unseen, speak only from the end, and you will see more, receive more, and become more than ever before. The greatest wealth is not what you hold in hand, but what you now know in consciousness. You are the operant power. You are the creator. And your imagination, when directed with belief and persistence, will never fail you. Thank you for watching, for listening, for being part of this journey. Your time, your energy, and your willingness to expand your awareness mean everything. Stay inspired. Stay faithful to your inner world and never stop imagining from the end. Until next time, stay blessed and remember, it is already yours.